There is a general consensus amongst fans that A Pal for Gary is one of the worst episodes of SpongeBob. From the mistreatment to the ignorance, the episode not only made SpongeBob appear stupid, but it also made him look like a terrible pet owner, which is something we weren't used to seeing. If you did not see the episode or just need a reminder, A Pal for Gary is an episode of SpongeBob SquarePants from season 7, where because SpongeBob thinks Gary is lonely, he buys another pet to keep him company when he's not home. However, this pet tries to eat Gary and then eventually SpongeBob, but he doesn't believe Gary when he tries to warn him. Someone said that it's literally the plot of Gremlins, 1984. A kid buys a pet from a sketchy shop on the side of the road. The pet turns out to be very dangerous to him and everyone he cares about. Kid sides with the new member instead of the one they've known for years until everything goes to hell and the good pet saves his life and the day. In this episode, SpongeBob is feeding Gary at home and is about to leave for work, but then Gary wants to go on a walk. SpongeBob doesn't have time to give him one and leaves, but you can tell he regrets not spending more time with Gary. Ironically, while at work at the Krusty Krab, he sees Mr. Krabs refusing to serve a client because he brought his pet worm. This makes SpongeBob feel bad about Gary being home alone without company, so he calls him and tells him that he will be home soon. While walking home from work, SpongeBob sees a truck selling cute Puffy Fluffs. However, when the lady selling them warns him that they are aggressive and hostile to other pets, especially snails, SpongeBob rushes off with a green Puffy Fluff, completely ignoring the warning, and I don't even think he even pays for it. Anyway, when he gets home, he shows Gary his new playmate Puffy Fluffy. And the disaster begins. Anytime SpongeBob isn't around, Puffy makes blatant threats to Gary, but SpongeBob ignores him and accuses Gary of being the violent one and even punishes him. Through the night, Puffy threatens Gary and Gary tries to defend himself, but Puffy Fluffy is stronger. They fight all night, which spreads to the library and causes a house fire caused by Puffy Fluffy knocking over SpongeBob's fireplace. SpongeBob doesn't wake up since he is sleeping blissfully unaware, dreaming about his grandmother's house. So Gary had to put the fire out. The next day, SpongeBob wakes up to find that his house is a mess and assumes that Gary caused it out of jealousy of his new friend. He then walks into his exercise room to find Puffy Fluffy about to eat Gary alive, but oblivious to Puffy Fluff's blatant abuse, he once again accuses Gary of harassing him. SpongeBob finally seizes Puffy Fluff's true colors when Puffy eventually traps SpongeBob as well, which gives Gary the idea to save him by getting out his lasso and freeing SpongeBob and intimidating Puffy, who runs off after Gary shows who the real boss is. But despite this, SpongeBob still believes that Gary was responsible for Puffy Fluff's violent behavior. The episode ends with SpongeBob at work again, this time bringing Gary after the policy has been updated to allow animals in the restaurant so he won't be lonely anymore. Mr. Krabs, being an opportunist, hires Gary as the restaurant's second fry cook as the episode ends. I think this is one of the weaker episodes. Not only was it upsetting seeing Gary being mistreated and endangered in this way, it was an uncomfortable storyline. Throughout the episode, SpongeBob remains oblivious to the fact that Puffy Fluffy is a threat to Gary. It was frustrating that SpongeBob doesn't realize the danger his pet is in, despite clear warning signs, and to me, the episode lacked the usual humor and charm that is a characteristic of SpongeBob SquarePants. I don't think the dark and uncomfortable tone of the episode doesn't resonate well with the show's usual lighthearted and silly humor. It was just weird. After all the time SpongeBob has loved, cared for, and treated Gary like a close son, all of a sudden in one episode, he acts like a complete moron and accuses Gary of being the cause of everything even when Puffy is attacking him. Even with the evidence right in front of his face, he blames Gary. Even when he saw Gary in Fluffy's mouth, he blamed Gary for hurting him. The episode doesn't work at all. They had to make the character not like himself, which in my opinion ruins the formula of the show. The lack of responsibility shown by SpongeBob is another thing that makes me not like the episode. Even though there were many signs that Puffy Fluffy was being mean to Gary, SpongeBob didn't notice and didn't take responsibility at the end for what he did. People are annoyed that SpongeBob's carelessness has no results. They expect stories to have consequences and resolutions, especially ones aimed at younger viewers, but it felt like still in the end, SpongeBob learned nothing. I also think this episode changes the normal way that SpongeBob and Gary interact, which is usually marked by love and care for each other. Adding Puffy Fluffy as a temporary addition hurts the bond between SpongeBob and Gary that we are used to seeing. It was disappointing that the episode strayed from that dynamic between them that we are used to. The characters behave out of character, and SpongeBob is so ignorant of the whole thing that it is just cruel to Gary. Even after Gary defeated the Puffy, he was still reprimanded by SpongeBob and made to work for free. Early SpongeBob would never have been this stupid. I thought the episode was really cruel to Gary. I did not think it was funny. The episode just lacks the humor and charm that are typically associated with the show. The dark and unsettling tone of the episode, coupled with the lack of the show's signature lighthearted and silly humor, fails to resonate with people like me who appreciate the series for its wit, clever writing, and comedic elements. But let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Did you like the episode? What is your least favorite SpongeBob episode? On your way down, don't forget to like and subscribe, and click that notification bell so you get notified when I post another video. It helps the algorithm. Thanks for watching.